This week on Hermitcraft.
That's all I need. Just come in. Like, oh, here's Impulse on his throne again. Yep.
You know what this is.
Is
This
that
is
your
my
AFK?
spot.
Oh, I love it. How adorable.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is PixelRiffs. Our writer is SloyXP. Captions on this video were provided by Liara, and the season of giving is upon us. And it's giving Pyromaniac. Fortunately, the Hermits have been given a new update to distract them from how flammable the server now is, which means everybody's now skewering each other at ludicrous speeds and leaping from the ocean on the backs of Nautili, which, let's be honest, were so close design-wise to giving us the actual Hermit Crab recap.
You guys aren't doing attribute swapping. It's the best new thing.
Just in time for the Christmas shopping season to reach its peak, Good Times with Scar leaps into action and starts laying out a proper shopping district, and also becomes the Monopoly guy, truly representing everything everyone dreads about the holiday season. It's amazing how Scar is able to be both the server's charity advocate and, on this season at least, the looming spectre of capitalism. Given that everyone is still building farms for gunpowder despite there already being a fireworks shop, we'll see if the economy starts to boom. But for now, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Good Times with Scar, who reveals his shopping master skin, and finally, he's Mumbo Jumbo.
I need you to trust me, okay? I need you all to type as a contract between you and me that you trust me in the comments.
Now, having gathered enough donations to officially start the commercial district, Scar opens with a central town square from whence to grow his empire, which is quite straightforward compared to the time he had to dig out a massive cave first. Without any mycelium to convert into grass first, Scar has a relatively easy time massaging the foliage. But let's not pretend that in lieu of his own shops, the man's main exports aren't shenanigans, which is why we get an extended cut of that time Etho and gang launched Grian to space twice.
Yeah.
And also they tried to clear out Mumbo's chickens from the cherry cliff by summoning a wither boss to kill them.
Wait, was that a bad idea? Why'd everything get pink?
All right,
Guys, why are you all leaving?
Luckily, they remove the boss out of the ecosystem shortly before it takes full advantage of itself having no natural predators. This really just means that we now have an unregulated population of Gemini-Tay, who did in fact chase the animal up to Y level 800. It must be that building on the nether roof has left an impression, as Gem continues to make mockery out of vertical elevation.
This build almost reaches build height. It's quite tall.
Oh, really? Okay, maybe I misunderstood how tall it's actually.
Having decided on building her base home interior first, Gem starts a storage room with a cathedral-type ceiling, which should be enough vertical rows of chests for once. But the full damage-generating heights turn out to be no match for the scaffolding properties of a Happy Ghast, which makes up for the lack of speed by being still more convenient for mid-air building than an Elytra.
You kind of forget that you're even building inside out when you're looking at it from this view. It's not until you go over here and you stand here that you're like, oh yeah, right. It's not meant to look like that. That doesn't look very good.
But since his ceiling is already decided, Cubfan135 has to expand his auto-sorted storage with the bulk Shulkerbox auto cupboard he calls the Million Item Storage System. This is an invention of his from previous seasons, tailor-made for keeping a ridiculous amount of items within arm's reach. And you will need the whole arm when you've got pockets this deep.
And I brought it back as a complementary system to our existing storage system over here.
Though having so fundamentally expanded his personal infrastructure, Cub decides to make a mockery of the public one. We joked about burning bridges a couple of episodes ago, but Cub and B-Dubs actually do that, which is an odd move for the two guys who don't use Elytra.
Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Oh, jeez!
Oh, snap. Oh, there he goes.
This act of violence against public byways is balanced out by B-Dubs landscaping the view of his base he sees most often, setting up flower farms just so he can work with blue flowers and warped foliage. Amid the blue plants, he even puts his copper golems out to pasture, dotting them around the hillside as statues now that they froze up from sorting all his storage.
But usually I just do paths, because I think they look pretty good. But I'm actually doing stone and textured stuff.
He can't resist meeting up with the boys to try out the new spear, and as someone who prefers to spend a lot of time on horseback, vehicular animal slaughter is now comfortably within B-Dubs' reach.
I'm gonna lunge at you. I missed.
Anyway, you know who's also on the server? Wells Knight.
This is not a very good transition.
The bridge to talking about Wells, funnily enough, is also a literal bridge, because Master of Fortifications, Wells Knight, has added a castle wall around his home base so people can't easily come visit. Then added a bridge so they can, then put a gatehouse on it so they can't. Some contradictions will have to be granted when chasing historical accuracy, but luckily, no moat nor wall will stop Etho from coming in with 50 wind-charging rabbits.
I just saw you running back and forth like a mad lad.
Having discovered the ghast bombing technology, Grian dedicates a non-insignificant amount of his time to breeding up his own bunny bomb. But by then, his server mates have another whole level of tips and tricks to reveal to him, which includes a Zoomovoid showcasing his drifting camel.
Do you see the camel is sitting down and being lazy?
Bro, this camel looks hungry. Someone get this camel a sandwich.
It's a camel husk.
We have tried feeding it.
In the wave of novelties of the mounted update, Grian himself adopts a zombie horse, but that's when the base building catches up to him and he has to return to the salt mines to get enough deep slate to redo the enchanting room in the salt mine aesthetic.
I'm here. I am striking gold.
Those are diamonds, actually. Despite Mounts of Mayhem being here, the server continues to put the copper golem on a pedestal. And nowhere is that more true than XB Crafted's base, where the big little guy is now supported by a big little pillar.
And so this gives us a better idea of what we're working with. I was kind of sick of it floating.
XB also tries his hand at some custom terrain modeled to look eroded, which is extra funny considering the amount of erosion he's already inflicted on this landscape. The highlight, though, is the maze he builds under his new storage system for the copper golems to explore. As they travel from chest to chest, they constantly activate redstone lamps below their feet thanks to the floor of pressure plates, and with tinted glass laid over the top, the result is both spectacularly effective and as soothing to watch as a lava lamp.
Days, XB, that's brilliant.
He's done something here, hasn't he? This is crazy.
Brilliant.
Rendog continues to perform magic in Minecraft, and we're not just saying that because he built a hexagon that doesn't look like a wonky circle.
It is always a bit scary, isn't it, guys? You end up with these giant platforms of stone that look super ugly.
Thanks to Hoffin's wizardry with textures and block models, Ren now looks the part, with a magical robe, a spellbook, and frankly the biggest hat we've seen since the big hat worn by the Dark Souls character Big Hat.
A pleasure to meet thee, Tarnished. I am the witch, Drenna.
The spellbook even has functionality when held in the offhand, emitting sparks and magically deflecting attacks, which is a pretty classy way for Ren to remind everyone he's left-handed. When he shows this off to the server's LARP society, they discover the right-click animation even works when an armor stand is holding it, so we can't wait to see how that gets used for minigames. But every good wizard needs a library, and Ren's latest build is a multifaceted structure that will house a great store of arcane knowledge, including the knowledge of how to build a sheep farm so he can generate enough blue wool to build the roof. Either way, it looks like pretty soon he'll be able to roll it like a D20.
Because this build has got everything architecturally speaking that I want to see in all of the buildings that we make out here. And, well, the scary thing is I'm probably only 20% through.
Ren visits the server's other Snow Witch, DocM77, who returns from finding himself a zombie horse and corralling some Nautilai to discover someone has left coal and a candy cane at his custom burg.
Jevin or what? Because, it's always Jevin who's into the high Christmas spirits, right?
This doesn't stop him flash freezing the rest of the area, naturally inviting comparisons to Elsa, which is funny because he's already proved himself incapable of letting it go. He's determined to do whimsy his way, though, and he's already thinking through how his base could tie into his neighbors, as long as they don't mind being literally undermined, because he's tunnel boring again. Tunnel quite exciting, actually, as it's just run into a trial chamber.
So we are technically in a pretty good line. This is how we're, straight towards Gem's mega base. She wouldn't mind if there's, loud tunneling going on.
This is not the only incident of Christmas-themed pranking, as Ijevin wakes up on the tail end of the charity stream to discover his vessel has been boarded by a number of snowmen. This is quite upsetting to him, as he himself is a fan of the holiday and feels he's owed a little more leeway after years of handling the Secret Santa event.
The guy who spent all that time getting them presents and that's how they treat me? All right. Yeah, this is war.
Whoever's responsible will have to really look out too, now that the dread pirate Jevin has promoted himself to the horror Admiral Jevin by introducing a second, smaller boat to his starter base and therefore becoming a fleet leader. though perhaps a bigger threat is that he's gained unrestrained access to Etho's with a skeleton farm, which among other things means unlimited pirate flags. This cost the man letting Etho into his gunpowder and prismarine farms, as well as his heart, though the offer becomes a little less impressive compared to Tango Tech's one, if only because it doesn't involve the line "Banana Boom Boom."
You are hereby granted an unlimited supply of gun. Oh, yes. Yes, Tango.
See, to thank the guy for his generous donation of roses to the biggest Wither Skelly farm on the server, Tango swore to deliver all the gunpowder in the world to Etho whenever he says the line "Banana Boom Boom" in the server's chat, putting a real embarrassment price on a shulker box of dead creeper ashes. But a keen viewer would argue that the much more interesting part of the arrangement is that biggest Wither Skeleton farm on the server situation. Well, turns out XB Crafted had no plans to build one of those on the incredibly convenient nether fortress that he found, but he wouldn't mind if Tango has such plans, so you do the maths. These farms operate primarily on two things: bridge intersections where the skeletons spawn, of which this farm has an anomalous amount, and the surrounding terrain being spawn-proof, which has already been accomplished by the world generation, seeing how the surrounding terrain there is mostly lava. In fact, other parts of the land that didn't get the memo, XB promises to voluntarily help cover in buttons to further limit spawnable places. And so Tango and Impulse accept his blessing to go completely bananas boom booms on the structure, creating the best coal farm I've seen since dropping my spruce shulker into a super smelter.
Fun farm to watch. It's a conveyor belt of wither skeletons, and they're just everywhere. Here comes another batch now.
And now for something completely different, this facade false symmetry build looks like it's going, ah! In all fairness, that would be the scaffolding for the actual more ornate A-frame, so it's a fancy by the time she's done with it. Still, the news of the update takes her by storm, and then gets her stuck in free cam while her player character flies into the sea to drown.
Okay, now I'm logged in on Joe's stream, but it's just loading terrain. I'm gonna start drowning. I've got to close the game. Oh my goodness, I'm having an actual nightmare. This update's trying to literally kill me. Having
thankfully survived the out-of-body experience, False returns home with pretty much one of everything, even if this weird lollipop she found in the ocean keeps making squid noises. But even without the new mobs, Azuma Void finds plenty of mechanics to mess with, in no small part thanks to the data pack they now have on the server that makes specifically renamed animals never grow up. As such, an age-locked animal will try to forever pathfind to its parent, which is how X has a calf running around his wheat field at a preset trajectory. In reality, it's a dwarf cow chasing its relatives in a secret underground water slide.
And that is a forever young cow, and it's pathfinding, because the cow is in the water. Maybe we don't need to use a boat.
It's certainly been a pathfinding-oriented season for Azuma, so it's no wonder he finds another way of yanking copper golems around. This time, there's a redstone contraption blocking off the copper chests, both within the golem's range, and that just leads to the little guy sprinting across the area, only taking breaks to start randomly pirouetting on a carpet block. But worry not, Azuma himself is not safe from copper programming, and so around a third of his episode is dedicated to devising a perfect way to sort his ender chest.
So despite Minecraft adding many more blocks to the game, our revision has actually condensed the storage down a fair bit, and we've got lots of spaces to include more in the future.
Surveying everyone else's bases from the back of a happy ghast has lit a fire under Pearlescent Moon, and it's her job to put those out, if you'll remember. So after continuing her bridge into a tunnel that LaudividniYT will still try to set ablaze, Pearl casually time-lapses an entire fire station into existence. By her own admission, it took long enough to build that a whole update came out, so Pearl gets to craft a spear and test it against XB Crafted, who briefly becomes XP Crafted so she can have some extra levels to enchant the thing.
You got this.
Oh, do you have?
I believe in you. What?
Despite being the best safety gear one can obtain, netherite armor still isn't aesthetically what a firefighter needs, but that's why armor trim exists, and XB also gifts Pearl a silence trim so she can tailor the armor to suit her needs. To top it all off, she goes Nautilus taming with Azuma and Rendog, but also hunts down a zombie horse to add to her squad, which is ironic considering they're the mount most likely to spontaneously combust.
Why? Why is everybody else lucky except me? Favorite princess and all that.
Now, when you hear Skizzleman make this noise, I need you to know it was even funnier at 3 times speed. Anyway, this was all so he could have a heart-to-heart conversation with his ego, who told him to do a mangrove farm again. Which would be great if he could remember how he did it last time, but he does remember there was TNT involved, and luckily Tango has built a very productive gunpowder factory.
Look, see that? That's because these are all full. Oh, Tango, you madman.
Somewhere in this period, Skiz also time-lapses a room with acoustic panels on the walls. Fun fact, this kind of sound dampening treatment is also called baffling. You know what else is baffling? Mangrove growth mechanics. Fortunately, Skiz's ingenuity gets him to the point where it's all working pretty well, although he'd still like an alternative to this moss farm to keep the operation self-sustaining.
Okay, well, there goes that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm out of bone meal. I'm out of bone meal. No, I'm not. How come I didn't bring enough propagoo. I'm done. Hold on.
Fortunately, Impulse SV and Tango Tech now have a superpowered wither skeleton farm that's going to rival the moss farm trend.
Bones, we've already got 5 shulker boxes full of bones, and this thing is packed with shulker boxes.
And Impulse has been using the wither skulls to add even more sound design to his base, fashioning pillars for the base's central spindle, which have a satisfying clunk as all the lights switch on and off.
And they turned off, and I didn't hear it. Oh my gosh. It is cool to see the lighting system turn on and off when it's supposed to, though. It's going to be just a fun little animation that happens.
After all, he's already using Dragon's Breath to decontaminate the entrance hall, so what's another boss drop if not a good excuse for special effects? The central shaft also now carries all the items up to his storage system, where bulk storage is now a thing, although this system still isn't as shulker hungry as Etho is. And finally, there's Mumbo, who, having now supersized his wallet, decides to shrink-ray his industrial district.
To me, I like being able to experience my builds on foot through my own beady eyes.
The first thing to miniaturize is his dependence on the shopping district for fireworks, so he designs a snow golem-powered creeper farm in Creative. The server soon gets wind of this, as a samurai appears to encourage him to buy rockets, and Etho appears to encourage him to be in the air now.
Oh my goodness! What on earth?
Of all things to dispatch the creepers with, Mumbo settles on wither roses, which the server fortunately has a surplus of now that giant wither skeleton farms are back in vogue. So he buys a few stacks and the farm absolutely pops off during his first AFK session. All it takes is a sugarcane farm next door, and now he can spam rockets as much as he wants. Which is probably a good idea now the Minecraft gods have given Grian the spear. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is SloyXP and my name is Pixelriffs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next week.